children's book festival.
The topic I have is why does my child behave like that? Understanding and recognizing the unique way your child learns. So this workshop was actually based on my book called A Mind Like Jane. So A Mind Like Jane it's like my baby. It's the first ever children's book I ever did. It was more like a personal project for me because I saw myself like Jane. I felt like I wish I had like a Miss Blossom in my life. So yes, let me tell you about the book. So A Mind Like Jane is about an 8-year-old girl called Jane that's actually struggling to fit into the cultural setting of academical excellence. She doesn't learn or understand things the way other children or academically inclined children learn things. Jane is quite imaginative and she's very, one would say, distracted easily. But the thing about Jane is that she has the way that she understands and simulates that is not normal or it's not often seen in the, will I say, formal education. So the story of A Mind Like Jane is about how Jane is struggling and her parents and her teachers in school are comparing her to her peers, to her sisters that are doing better in school, be it for whatever courses or level they are in. And the story goes along that Jane eventually becomes a bit demotivated by this comparison because at home they are comparing her to her sisters, in school they are comparing her to her peers. So eventually down the line she meets a guardian angel or some sort of guiding light that turns the path for her in a different way entirely, which is Mrs. Blossom. So Mrs. Blossom recognizes that Jane isn't dumb or distracted, isn't dumb or stupid or hard of learning. She just learns in a different way. So eventually Miss Jane helps her to get to the right path. So, like I said, the topic is about why does my child behave the way they do. So my first question would be like, as parents or as a guardian, have you ever wondered why your child behaves differently from their peers or their siblings? Why do they don't understand things a certain way, or whether they don't understand things quickly or slowly or whatever speed that you believe is the proper way they are supposed to learn? Because although the formal education has given steps and ways people are meant to learn, are meant to be monitored, and how to practically just tick off how they are learning and give them scores and all that jazz, that you know that children or human beings in general don't learn just because in the same way in general, and they can't learn necessarily according to the system. So, like I said, so there are four types of learning styles, but there are three that are not that recognized everywhere. So we have the visual learners, we have the kinetic learners, and then we have the audio learners. So first and foremost, I printed out this little, I don't know, like this little slip. Now, there's a particular game called the 10 grocery list challenge. Yeah, 10 grocery list challenge, where a parent will give a child, a parent will give a child a 10 list and tell them to learn it and then call it back for them. So you can see that there are, in this list, there's a written form, which is the milk. Hello? Yeah. In this list, there's the written form, which is the egg, the milk, the bread, the chicken, the apples, the spinach, the cheese, the tomato, and the yogurt. So, for people that are visual learners, they will probably just see the list and they'll be able to learn it quickly. There's some people that are more audio learners. They might need you to call out the words for them, and you might have to like, okay, repeat after me the egg, the chicken, and everything, probably multiple times or once. Then for people that are kinetic learners, they might have to write down the items back to you, meaning that you call it out and then they will write it down, or you give them they will write it down, because they are practically they are being active with the word. They are learning it actively, because writing down and probably hands work is a part of kinetic learning. So the point is that so props so as so imagine somebody that learns imagine a kinetic learner being told to just listen for hours. Of course, a kinetic learner, a person that listens, that gets better from writing and writing down whatever they are learning, being told to stop writing and just listen. That person, the teacher or the guardian or whoever is teaching the topic, might think they are helping the students be less distracted. But if the person's learning style is writing as they are learning, you are practically just making things harder for the person to learn. The same way if it's a person that is a visual learner and you are just giving an audio class, the person can't assimilate as quickly or as effectively as they would in their strongest learning styles. Also, one thing that I've learned, or one thing that I know, is that some people or some children, even adults, may have more than one learning style. But there's always going to be one particular learning style that is bigger or more effective in them. Meaning that if I'm a person that I have maybe all three, there will be a particular one that I would learn better or faster with. And if you are taking the lesser one to teach me, of course I'm going to take time learning that work, and I'm not going to be able to learn it as much as any other person that particular style you are using to teach them is their greatest learning style. So the thing now is that I want to speak on comparison, because one of the reasons why Jane was getting demotivated was the constant comparison, which I believe that some parents, at least Jane's parents, probably didn't mean any harm. They always thought that probably if they compared her to other people to motivate her to do better. But unfortunately, that was not the case. In fact, and that's not usually the case in a lot of children, because a lot of parents, a lot of guardians, a lot of teachers, a lot of people that are opportune to teach or to motivate or to guide any child always believe that comparison would help. And as a person that has been a child and I'm still learning, I have to say that it didn't really help me at all. It's kind of at a particular point, it just made me avoid whoever you are comparing me to, or probably even maybe bitter against that person, because I would feel like I'm doing my best and you still don't recognize this best, and then you're now trying to compare me with somebody that's probably, I don't know, I can only determine what I like to believe that child, like I can only determine what I'm doing as my best. So that's resentment, or that motivation not to even do anything at all. You know, you can be like, I'm doing my best and it's still not good enough, might as well just stop. So at least I know that whatever you are saying now, I can say that I deserve it. I'm not doing anything now, so you can condemn me all you want. Things like that could eventually creep up in the person's child. Very few times that comparison really positively motivates anybody to do anything better. So one of my points is that we should not, the impact of comparison is not good. So when we are talking about comparison now, it just gives you the feeling of inadequacy. It detaches that motivation to learn, and sometimes now it might even hate that subject. Now I remember growing up, I did not like maths. I still don't like maths. It's not something that I would go out of my way to say I want to learn, but I loved fine arts, and there are some times that my fine art teacher had to kick me out of the fine art class because I just enjoyed the class. So there are some people that they might not be the best in one subject, and you might just try and help them grow better. I'm not saying you should leave them where they are, but don't particularly expect them to get maybe 100 over 100. There's just a level of acceptance in who your child is, because every child is an individual, and no matter what you believe they should get, there are some certain things that are already imbibed in them as individuals. So strategies that I believe that can help you avoid comparison as a parent. Number one, you focus on the child's strengths. So if you notice that your child is best in arts, you help them you motivate them to go better in it. I'm not saying that you should completely dump the ones that they are not good at. You can help them, but just build their strengths as they are building up their weaknesses. Also, individualism. You need to accept that even siblings, even twins, are not the same. So you can't expect that just because Bola is getting 100% in all our subjects, then Tola is going to have to do the same thing. Because even in their characteristics, they are not the same. Even if they look alike, even in their characteristics, they are not the same. So definitely in their academics or in their desires or in their learning styles or generally just things that they enjoy doing, they will definitely be different. So another thing is that positive reinforcement, meaning that, okay, I'm a child, I've gotten like 100% in English or I've done well in a particular topic. Praise me, you should praise that particular child for that. Know that, let the child know that even though there are some parts that they are lacking, you notice, you see what they are doing well, and you appreciate the things that they are doing. So if I'm getting artwork and I'm getting 100, you commend them. Yes, you did well in this. I would appreciate if you could also do better in the other subject. But at the same time, I see that you are doing well in this course, and I commend you. And I'm happy, and I hope you continue with doing that. Also, building confidence in a child. So any child that feels that their parents don't see their worth or see what they are putting or tries to compare them will definitely at some point have some level of lack of self-confidence, because it's like a brick by brick trick of somebody's self-confidence. So ways to build confidence in your child, and even as an adult, because as a parent you also need to be confident in your child, just like how the child needs to be confident in themselves. So encourage your child to explore. Don't just assume it's just one way to skin a cat, or one way to do something, or one way to be successful. There are so many ways people have been successful, and luckily as time goes by, or as we are in this time 2025, there are so many people that are becoming successful in a not so formal or not so straight and narrow way. So encourage your child or your children to explore. They should find themselves. Maybe they can go for maybe sport activities after schools or after classes, interactions or things like that. They should discover their passions, because yes, we want them to go and have a job, but I think most times people, there's a saying that I read one day that if you are doing your passion as your work, once you go to work isn't work anymore. If your passion is your work, then I don't know how exactly it's said, but like the meaning is that once you are enjoying your job or you are doing what you love, then work in itself isn't work anymore. You go there happy, you do the work, you probably barely even notice that it's work. You just know you are getting paid doing what you love and what you do. So another way is personalized praise, meaning that not just the average you did a good work. Personalize it, meaning that Bola, I appreciate the work you've done in this artwork, but just make sure that the child knows that it's not just a general praise that you are giving them. Make sure that the child recognizes that mommy knows this thing and appreciates my effort in this thing, or mommy knows that I love playing sports and she appreciates my efforts in playing sports and how I've grown in life. In fact, you could even make little comments that make them know that you are taking notes of the small things, not just the big things, not just the awards or the home or not the medals or the awards, little growth that they are doing. Because once they know that you appreciate the small and the big things, they will definitely be more motivated to learn, even if it's trying to get better at their lesser learning styles or their lesser subject they don't like. They will put in that effort that, okay, because I know mommy will appreciate me when I'm doing my best in this, I should probably try even if I don't enjoy this or that one. Also, creating a supportive environment. So you need to, at home, we can't really determine how a child learns in school because it's a formal way of learning. So once you get home now and you find out that probably the learning style that they are teaching your child in school is not their best, or it's not the one that's best for them, you can take time to try and teach them at home or reteach them whatever they've learned in school in their learning styles. So now imagine if I'm somewhere that my teacher just likes to come and talk for hours. Probably when I get home, I could be like, mommy, I want to learn this, and you can get like pictures or tax or little tax bag, or just little things. This is a virtual learner. Or you could get the person to do a creative thing and just learn in their own learning styles. So that no matter how they are being taught in school, you are supporting them at home and you are ensuring that they understand it the best way they can. And also, yes, and so my conclusion is that the importance of knowing your child's learning style is that there is an importance in knowing your child's learning style or styles and ensuring that the child is confident about it. Knows that you support them, and also that you get strategies that will help them grow better in those learning styles, and also strategies that will help them grow better in learning styles that are not their strongest. Also, a child's uniqueness is their power, because we are all individuals, like I like to say. You can't fix a circle in a square box. You can't make a person who they are not. It's just you just end up causing damage to that particular shape. Just like how you be causing damage to the child's mind or body or soul or something. So you have to find out what works for the person and work with that. And also, there are so many activities, whether online or research, that can help you test your child's learning style and know what best works for, what works best for them. So yes, I think that's everything. So do you have any questions for me? Hello, questions? I really love questions. I've made so many questions in that time.
Now, moving on to the third position. Are you ready for
I said there are 4, but there are okay. Yeah? Okay, so yes. So like I said before, there are 4, but okay. So now there's visual learning style, audio learning style, kinetic learning style, and then reading and writing. But because reading and writing has been bracketed with kinetic learning styles, most times they are not separated; they are together. So it depends on who you are asking. Yes, so that's great. And also, I do have samples of I have some copies of my book, A Mind Like Jay. And personally, like I said before, it was more of I felt like Jay. And I wish I had a Miss Blossom in my life. Like, there were so many things I probably would have gained at a faster time or a better period if I had someone that understood that me not liking maths is not me trying to be stubborn, or me not being able to sit through 2 hours of constant talk is not me being distracted, and then me wanting to write down is not me just not listening to the teacher. All those things, if I had them at a younger age, I probably would have been able to grow better academically, and it's just like me showing what I would have wanted. So probably just trying to heal the child in me, so that other children could also profit from that situation and find a better way of life.